And they are off, and the fuse is lit, guys.
Oh my goodness, this is so fun. So we have so many people here already. This is great.
Yeah. Here we go. So who do we have? A whole bunch here. So we have Skadra, Deanna, Day of the Cow. We have Ray, Corey Pritzman, K-Heads, KK.
Awesome to see you guys. Great to be here.
Shows that we're live.
Wait.
Is
there a delay? I'm so excited. Can you hear us?
No, I think we could see. Can you guys hear us? Just tell me somebody that you could hear us.
Test. Sound test.
KK says, I'm so excited and I just can't hide it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's something weird here because we're stuck at messages at 15. Okay, there's 21. All ears. Can you hear us? Day of the Cow, all ears?
I think that's what they mean. That's what they mean. We are simple folks.
Yay. Okay.
Carolina Dream, good to see you.
Awesome. Good. Day of the Cow, KK. There's that. Watch out for Sassy Susie, okay?
Do you remember, does anybody remember the group Carolina Dreamer? I love it. I love them.
Sounds familiar. It sounds very familiar. I probably do.
Yeah, they were great. They're still probably out there. Good sound. Awesome.
I see Paige in the house. Good to see you.
Pedigree Monkey. Even if I don't like the way you say Allie. Okay. I'm still following you for years. Well, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, I mispronounce a lot of things. I'm sure I do. A lot of craziness going on, guys. Good to see you. So glad everybody is here. There we go. And I'll put the sound off on there. Wow. Please do a thumbs up and give your support. And we appreciate that. And we'll keep doing everything we can do. Nina the Mystic sighting.
Awesome. Good to see you, Veldon. Great to see you, Benzomatic. Hello.
Christine Love and Lily Blade. And now we're really, really cooking. And Israel's in the house. Now we could get the party started.
Indeed we can. I'm excited, you guys. Go grab your friends. It's going to be a fun night.
Yeah. And Brother Keith, good to see you over in Rhode Island. Yes, absolutely. So there's so much going on. This is a tweet from Julian Assange. Zelensky tried to kill Putin today. Hopefully Putin takes it personally. And responds in kind. Yeah. Again, the actors, they are at it. But, real death and destruction does happen too. Even though we're trying as hard as we could to put out there the love, the light, the compassion, the brotherhood, the unity, and that whole intention of Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. Why not allow everybody to have peace and freedom? Why not try a new way and let's move forward?
I think we need to. We have a lot going on. And, it's like the frog in boiling water. Well, you can see the water is boiling now.
Oh, the water is really boiling. Yeah, absolutely. So, there's almost too much to keep up with. The power went off in Moscow, as you see here. Hundreds of thousands are currently without power in the capital, following an alleged drone attack by Ukraine. Yeah, I saw it looked like there was a pretty good-sized drone attack that was coming into Moscow. And this comes the same day as Russian doomsday radio channels were playing Swan Lake, operating for the first time in years. Something big is about to occur. Yeah, Swan Lake. It's Swan Lake. It's the finale. But the finale is just the beginning at the same time. But I think it is safe to say that we are going to an all new, a new level of chaos in some ways.
It is. It's another level, and it takes a certain grounding to get through this.
Yes, rooting and grounding, having that daily spiritual practice, mind, body, breath practice as well. And again, taking care of the body is so important. It is your temple, and we did a video today on evolutionary, and we have more videos scheduled the next several days. We actually focused a lot on evolutionary today, scheduling videos, again, trying to give people more practical information on how do you become the best version of yourself? How do you take care of your health and your well-being in these crazy, crazy times?
It takes some practice. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. Catch Mini 95. When can I get a session done? Typically a couple weeks. We're usually about, I'd say, about 10 to 14 days out, sometimes a little bit more. But evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Just email us and we'll set it up with you. And that's what we do. That's our day job. And, it's a blessing because we have met so many of you guys. We've talked to you all these years, not just on the videos, but in person too, with a lot of life coaching, energy work, Vedic astrology, biofield tuning, of course, getting ourselves ready for a lot of different things. And yeah, it's going to be a bumpy storm to get through. I think we have a period of time that's going to be very bumpy, and she's been doing a lot of research looking at not just 2026 and what to expect astrologically. We'll be giving a video on that within a day or two for the 2026 forecast. She's also looking at 2027, 28, 29, 30, and even up to 31. And I do think, I'd love to tell you guys, hey, we're stepping into the golden age tomorrow, but that's just not the case. We have a ways to go. It is going to be a bumpy road, but everybody that's putting out positive intentions and doing their best to wake up everybody to the real situation on planet Earth, we're working to shift paradigms and make everything go smoother, quicker.
It's absolutely happening, and we'll be able to look at definitely 2026 here in the next day or two and realize, there's some bumps in the road, and I think it's helpful if you know where those bumps are so you can kind of position your car and yourself to get past this as easily as possible. So we should have that in the next day or two.
Yeah, Robbie says a black swan lake. I like that. That's true. Modern refugee sighting. Yay, modern's in the house. And we are going to be working with another individual that I'm sure many of you guys know. We have to just iron things out with this other channel, and it'll be the first time that we work together, but it looks like it's going to be a go. We just have to figure out how quickly we could get together and get things going. Exciting times, guys. Exciting times. So the question here is Russia's economy really on the verge of collapse? This is from Russia Today. Well, how about the U.S.? How about just about the entire globes when you get down to it? That we all know what's coming. We all know what's coming. I was listening to Annette Zhang talking, and she was saying, if you really want to know about what's coming, you look to what we've seen in the past. We've talked about the Weimar Republic. You look at Venezuela, the chaos that happened in Venezuela. There's other places too, like Romania. We've had a lot of bumpy transition periods in the past, historically, economically, when they change the economic system. We're in that phase. Now they are actively starting to change the economic system.
And, I think it's going to be a little bit messy. I think we better be ready for a mess.
Yeah, we had a lot of our own personal chaos today, economically, trying to track things down and find out some things of a personal nature that didn't seem to go smooth. And it's problems with the banks, and nothing would surprise me at this point in time. I think, the Russian central bank's making constant liquidity injections. So was the United States, and yet China is stockpiling silver and gold. And we've talked about the fact that it seems that the power structure wants to kind of shift the operations focus in this behind the scenes global dark matrix over to China and shift that model to the rest of the world. That we've seen it, the social credit scores, the Big Brother situation where people literally get ostracized by society for not following the rules. We know that this is well underway for many other places, and ultimately they view the entire world to go under the system is what they really, really want. When you look to what really happened with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, what really happened there, what happened really to Libya and Gaddafi, why did they also ostracize North Korea? You could look to the banking system and get a lot of answers from that.
Indeed, you can. I'm looking at this and I'm just kind of watching everyone play their hand, and you got to sit there and wonder, is this their real hand? Is this their fake hand? Is this their real hand to make people think that, what is it? So it's kind of a interesting play-by-play we have going on.
Yeah, Steven Seagal, he went and moved to Russia. One thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people from the West that have actually moved to Russia and seem to be doing their jobs over there and in other countries. A lot of people have expated and left the United States for maybe the next 5 years. That's going to be challenging here in the U.S. and I think also in Europe. Work together, try to be as self-sufficient as possible is, I think, as always, good advice. And, again, try to have assets in different things. Like, obviously, if you got silver at $15 an ounce, you're actually kind of happy right now. Silver had skyrocketed up. Then it had a little blip and started to fall back down, and it's going to just keep going up, I think. But again, there are people that are experts economically and watch these markets, commodity markets, and they don't necessarily have the same view I have, but they also have a lot more information over the years they've watched closer. But these aren't the same times, and you guys know that. You know that they're starting the big change. This is the big change.
Well, you have to make things quite messy, and their games have always been
111.
Yes, we have exactly 111 watching. That's wonderful. Thumbs up if you can. But yeah, I mean, we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of new technology going on. There's been a lot of technology brewing kind of under the scenes. I've been feeling this electronic noose kind of wrap around my neck, and I feel the pull, and it does not feel good. It just reminds me of a snake, kind of wrapping in on a rat. And that rat's never going to get away. And that's how I feel with like the control system of it all. I know where my boundaries are. I know where I won't step, but what if it ever gets to that point? That would just be very inconvenient.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, the ruble just had its strongest year, and yet the dollar is having a hard time. And then we have all the military movements ongoing. Putin authorizes military reserve call up to protect critical energy sites. A significant theme which emerged over the course of last year of the Russia-Ukraine war, again started back in February 22, is greater Ukrainian effectiveness in striking Russian territory, sometimes at very distant targets as well, because obviously using NATO equipment, NATO technology, you've lost an entire generation of people in Ukraine, and these are. It's going to take time to rebuild the population. I truly doubt the 8 billion people are on this planet. I have no idea what the number is, but I do not believe the numbers they give us. Many people are coming out and saying there's not 1.5 billion people in China. Maybe there's 400 or 500 million at most. I don't know about any of it, really. I mean, we get that the Earth is much bigger than they tell us. There's a lot of places that are literally off limits for humans. And a lot of people are questioning every aspect of our reality. Yet with all that going on, here we've watched this slow train wreck of a disaster with the military situation and the build up to just openly acknowledging World War III is basically underway. It really has been for a while. It's just going at the pace that the control system wants it to. So 2026 feels like it's going to be a year of just constant escalation and the road getting bumpier economically, certainly. I think, again, what they're getting ready for, too, is a lot of blackouts, a lot of time being spent with communication breakdowns. When the war starts in earnest, anything can happen. And this is what we watch happen historically. If you really look back at what happens when you're in a war zone, it's just chaos. And it's very hard to figure out exactly what's going on. So the one thing that we've had up till now has been the ability to check with each other, and, oh, well, they say this is happening over in Sweden. Well, that's okay. I'm going to call Kurt and find out, or, oh, this is happening over in Canada. Well, let's see what Emma's finding. It's like this network that we have. What if we get unplugged from each other? And I've seen people making mention of that we should definitely try to get emails. Compile an email list is not a bad idea at all. And again, work with your neighbors, family, friends to get ready for what's coming, which again, I think we're going to have to rely on each other much, much more.
Yeah, I think we're going to need backups to backups. And, email might sound like snail mail at this point, but it might be the one thing that is actually operating when it comes to technology going down. I know we've had our own personal problems and quite a few problems lately going on with technology, things just flat out being blocked. And, if you guys watched the last live, the whole live was just taken down in an instant. I mean, it was really, really not nice. And I think we're going to be facing a lot more of that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you missed it, Ukraine has vehemently denied that it targeted Putin's residence, one of his homes. But yet it was stated by Russia that they did directly. And it was also stated that the response will not be diplomatic, meaning, there might be a tit for tat, there might be a much bigger strike coming. And then you have, of course, all this is going to lead to issues with just basic goods, supply and demand. And the economic war is very much underway. And, again, China, for instance, moved a lot of silver off market. At the same time, today, what did the U.S. do? We basically caused a liquidity surge, which, again, is going to lead to inflation, hyperinflation, more speeding up the dollar devaluation, which is well underway. So all this is adding up. And then you had China that basically blockaded Taiwan. They deployed new assault ships during its largest ever military drills around the island. These were the largest ones yet. Effectively, some people have said what they did was kind of like a blockade, like the U.S. is doing with Venezuela right now. Yeah, there's a lot of tit for tat going on.
It's a huge mess out there right now. Just, keep yourself grounded and use a lot of sage right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, if things were different, we could be just having this amazing transition into an age of such technology that we certainly could take away the need for all the toiling that humans have done just to basically put food on the table. There's so much energy, because money is energy, locked up in the hands of just, dozens of these billionaires that control so much energy nobody could ever use it all. There's a need for a new system. And yet, what do we have? We have the old system doing what it does, which is it causes war every single year somewhere in this world. There's been a war going on for the last 6,000 years. And a lot of what war does, too, is, again, it destroys a lot of our history. And this is a big part of why we are a species that we don't really truly know what our history is. We know what the books say, but is that really what is the case? I do not think so. We've been told that history is written by the victors, and that's absolutely the case. And the question then is, how bad are the victors lying?
I think that's the point, is how bad are the victors lying? And what they want us to know is what they want us to know. But I do believe with the abilities that are coming online now these days that people are going to see past the curtain. They're going to see right past it. So it's not going to matter much anymore.
Yeah. How have your dreams been? How have your dreams been? They've been so vivid lately. It seems like everybody we are talking to, the dreams are just at a different level. They're so much more lifelike. They're so vivid. I think a lot of times we are able to communicate with our guides, and perhaps we're even able to role play or play out in our own subconscious, everything from what's going to happen next, and what disclosure is going to look like when they finally introduce us to some ETs in person, or if you want to use UTs for ultra-terrestrials, because, the likelihood is the first ones we'll see have been here a long time.
And indeed they have.
February is looking like the financial kaboom. It very well could be. And then again, when will China move to take Taiwan? Or is that just a ruse? Is there something else going on? So, new Pentagon maps show the reach of China's expanding missile force. Yeah, China's missile arsenal is rapidly expanding. The thing is, again, they are the ones with the manufacturing. We have sent most, and not we, the United States people. It's the corporate executives and really those in charge of the finances that have shifted all the production away from the United States. So in a wartime situation, we could not keep up with what China could produce. This is how bets have been hedged and how they can predict outcomes, besides obviously scripting everything that we watch. So new Pentagon maps show the estimated ranges of China's vast missile arsenal, again, rapidly expanding. They could reach, obviously, Taiwan, Philippines, Guam, Japan, even continental U.S., and Russia, of course, has always had a lot of missiles and a very strong military. The thing is, again, the U.S. is in such debt. I'll share again the Polish psychic, literally, Krzysztof Tchaikovsky, he literally sees that the United States at some point in time is going to be like taken over by a corporation. And he didn't understand what he saw, but this is what he could get from the situation of the U.S. It's as if our creditors decided to call it in and took over the U.S. lock, stock, and barrel in a corporate manner. It could be that countries will just kind of disappear and it'll be a corporate-run world, which it already is. But countries create borders, and borders create the potential for conflict, and this has been useful to the system.
And thank you so very much, Miss Susan Donahue. It's been great to see you here for so many years and so helpful all the time. And I'll never forget what Susan told us. She said, you guys, it might look rough, but we can do this together. I think that's where we need to keep our minds.
Yeah, Vulcans coming around the mountain. Yeah, it's so interesting. Again, when you look to something like Star Wars, we talked about the fact that that's actually a way that they've given us some of our galactic history, or at least an analogy we could understand. In Star Trek too, with the Klingons, what a word there, right? Klingons, and the the Vulcans, the Romulans, all these different analogies again to talk about a divided Earth, a divided world. Again, I don't think that any of the average citizens around the world really want to see a World War III. And I don't think they want to see all their money spent to the military. But the reality is we haven't had much of a say, or we haven't spoke up loud enough for them to listen. Here from the Wall Street Journal, it's talking about China's push to master the Arctic. Well, the masters of the Arctic is actually Russia. Again, just with ice cutters alone, the U.S. only has 2 ice cutters, I believe, available, and Russia has like 6 times that or more. And now China is again using these icebreakers and also putting more submarines out there as well. And thank you, Susan. We truly appreciate everything you've done to support the channel all these years. It's just pretty obvious what's going on. But again, we put out there that maybe there will be divine intervention. Maybe the more benevolent ETs will actually stop all this. And that might sound crazy, but I don't think it's as crazy as you might think. And they might act in different ways, like what Cindy has gotten from Third Eye at Last, the thing they call a comet. It is intelligence, it is consciousness, and it is helping the awakening.
It's casting a very wide net to anyone who is open to it when it comes to changing the vibration of humanity. I mean, if you're even just a little bit open, and I think so many people are. I mean, we're so close to having the majority be open. Their heart chakras are being recalibrated and changed to a time and place before major trauma. Now, how long will that take to actually heal? How long did it take for us to get here? But the whole point is it started. It hit, it calibrated, and it started. So that's good.
Yes, Mark, we do think they are already helping. They've been helping us all along. So yeah, we're just watching this big drama unfold, and it's all about realization. And what do people really, really want? Do we want to see more of this system? So Chris Bledsoe told Russ Coulthart on News Nation that the lady warned him when Israel and Iran exchange missiles, glowing orbs will emerge from the water, intercept them, and stop the war, and force global awakening. Well, that would be pretty cool, actually, because I do think we're getting close. I mean, they're telegraphing this next strike on Iran. By the way, there were severe protests underway in Iran. People in the streets in the probably tens of thousands. It looked like it was tens of thousands protesting again the leadership there, because when you really look at it, whether we're in a communist, a socialist, a democratic, whatever society that we have out here, whatever governmental system, on the whole, I don't think people are satisfied. I really don't. I don't think they're satisfied at all with the way things are being run. So, yeah, I think we would love to see real change like that. We would love to see, doesn't have to be divine intervention, but yeah, if they would actually stop the spreading of this WW3, if they would actually intervene in a manner like that, that could actually interfere with karma. So, that's something that they understand better than most humans.
They do, and sometimes it's just not fair. All we're lacking is some knowledge, but sometimes just a little bit of knowledge can really change a whole lot of decisions you might make.
And here you have Marco Rubio has ordered U.S. embassies in the Western Hemisphere to report human rights abuses caused by mass migration. Again, that's something that was really instigated by a UN program, but that's just in this time period, because we could trace these mass migrations going all the way back to the time of Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian kings, and tactics of war that they did even before they would literally have direct contact and direct confrontation in battle. What they would do is they would force people that they had conquered previously in some areas to leave their homelands and push them off somewhere else. So those people coming over into other areas looking to find a place to live in peace would then be at friction with other neighbors. Meanwhile, their plan the whole time then is to cause more chaos and war and bloodshed in another country that they could go ahead and then later take over.
Mm-hmm. And it just, it's that cyclical nature of things, but the cycle is changing. So that's what we have to look forward to. We know that that cycle is being broken up. It is going to be broken up, and things are going to get better. But gosh, I really have to emphasize it's going to be slow, and it might look worse before it actually gets better.
Yeah, it's because it's obviously going to be a chaotic transition away from the dark matrix control that we've seen in place, and they're going to hang on to control in some areas more than other areas. When you look to where are some of the better places to be again, I would say, look to what places are drawing negative karma, or have been used to create negative karma, because that's really what has happened. The control system has used countries to basically create this negative karma backlash that will fall back on the country. And then they move on and do it again and again and again. Human rights abuses, well, that's a governmental issue everywhere. When you draft people, conscription, force them to kill other humans, that's definitely human rights abuse, especially if you don't want to go and do it, but then you're forced to. You want to talk about the hypocrisy we have on this planet with the governments? They're all worthless when you basically get down to it.
Yeah, we need to have some type of definitely something different. Something different needs to happen, because you can't build a house with old rotten wood.
Yeah, a divided house can't stand. That means, it's going to take a unity for us to actually stand and have stability. Until we could get to a unity, and that's not the left beating the right or the right beating the left, it's throwing out that whole mindset. Then we could start having some stability. Have you caught the chaos in Minnesota? Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, now remember, he was possibly he was nominated to be a VP. He's facing calls to resign amid mounting allegations of fraud in federal programs in the state. Republican lawmakers at the state and federal level have called on the governor, who was the Democratic Party's vice presidential nominee in 2024, to resign. He's defended himself, previously telling Newsweek that he has worked for years to crack down on fraud. Sure. There was a YouTuber again that just showed how much all this is just one massive scam. At the center have been Somali immigrants coming in, and basically money that comes from the public. It comes from our tax dollars and all, and it's being used to subsidize. So this is the thing, things like child daycare, adult daycare, other sorts of aid programs. But what they've seen when they actually go out there is none of that's happening. None of that's even happening at all. Nobody's really receiving anything but just cash. It's like a massive Ponzi scheme. We understand this is part of why, again, the government pays $500 for a hammer, and again, $50 for every nail. It's just ridiculous, because, this is the word that people are using more and more is parasites, and they're understanding government equals parasite.
And thank you so much, Robbie. We appreciate that a lot. And do stick around to the end, because we will do our usual dings and run a little bit of energy and say some prayers, because it looks rough out there. And I don't know if anyone thinks that we're weird, because we are very spiritual people. We have a strong spiritual practice, but the reason we do that is because we know we are probably going to be faced with some very difficult things, and that spiritual practice, it pulls you through.
Yeah, it is just who we are, because we understand too that we are eternal consciousness having a temporary human experience. And we come here to challenge ourselves. We come here to learn and to grow. And, discover what's in your heart. What's in the heart of Tim Walz and others. Again, you could look to the Biden family. We could look to the Bush family, the Clintons, the Obamas. You go on and on. We could look to Prince Charles. As the bloodlines, right? You do know, we've talked about the fact that Prince Charles is related to Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, literally, who was the real Dracula, or at least a character that Dracula was based on. And then you see that Elizabeth Bathory, who was a countess, also related to the same royal families, literally used to bathe in the blood of peasants. Yeah, literally. This is who these people are, and it stays in the families. I have to share with you guys in a future video some information Peter from Poland shared with me that tied in that, and actually some of the petroglyphs that we've seen in different places around the world. So yeah, absolutely. For what we've seen in Minnesota is just it's just an atrocity, but it's going on everywhere. Some places worse than others. Absolutely. Should he step down? Yeah, I mean, really, if you fill up the prisons in the whole country with all the politicians of the world that have been corrupt, I mean, they're all been corrupt. That's the thing on both sides. It's just one big Ponzi scheme to take advantage of people. It's been going on and getting worse every year. Here you have from MSN, obviously MSN leans left. Trump's hostile takeover of Social Security has led to a multi-million case backlog. Since the Trump administration took office, Social Security Administration has experienced significant deterioration following cuts by the Department of Government Efficiency. Caseload backlogs have swelled to over 6 million. Applicants now face substantial obstacles in obtaining basic information, according to the Washington Post report. And again, the Washington Post, we can't trust anything MSN or the Washington Post gives us, but that's just a small part of the problem, because again, they're doing it from one viewpoint. And it's not that they, at the highest levels, don't understand what's going on. I mean, does the head of MSN, or the head of the Washington Post understand that it's all really an illusion? Probably, do some generals understand the bigger picture? Probably some, but I don't think all. And I think most don't really understand. They're just starting to wake up to this. So yeah, I mean, I'm only a little ways away from Social Security time. Will it be there? I hope so, but I won't hold my breath. Meanwhile, the IRS CEO says 94% of middle-class taxpayers will see tax relief next year. So you can see how this is coming from a totally different place on Zero Hedge, talking about the CEO of the IRS saying in an interview in December 23rd, 94% of Americans that are middle class will see some form of tax relief. And he added that Social Security recipients will see up to a $6,000 benefit, as the Trump administration is committed to the benefits of Social Security not being taxed. Well, that seems to fly like straight in the face of what we're hearing from MSNBC or MSN. This is exactly what they do. So people that don't look at both sources and understand that, there's this dynamic here pitting us against each other, depending on whether we say we stand on the right or the left. Me personally, I'm not going to take a side that aligns with the system, because this is what the system does. It just wants you to pick a side.
I think you have to do just that, is check your alignment first and then look around and see what you can actually work with. And lately they have not given us very much.
Trump also said in a year-end speech that many American families could save between $11,000 and $20,000 a year under the tax and spending package. The IRS should not exist legally. I mean, I've talked to and heard lawyers at high level just acknowledge that 1913, the creating the Federal Reserve and taxing everybody, this has all been illegal the whole time. They should pay us all these taxes back. And, they should pay us back for the taxes that our parents and grandparents, basically paid in. Because what have they done? Well, with a large chunk of it, they've simply made themselves rich.
And they continue on, and you have to look at it in a way where, how can we make this change? What can I do to help flip the script? Because I don't like looking at how crooked everything is. It really kind of ruins your day, if you look at it too much. So you have to figure out, what can you do just to stay control of your own little world, and you don't have to worry so much about what they're doing. And that's the self-sufficiency we need to do.
Yeah, so, talking about Nick Shirley and everything, when I saw him out there with, again, Trump and Kristi Noem and all, to me, it felt like totally part of the script. I mean, I just don't know how to put it any other way. We want to think that this kid is doing great and that, he's doing what has to be done and exposing, but don't you think it's likely that he's part of the script too? Now it's time to pull in the all-American kid to expose the corruption. That's what it feels like to me. I did show it to Cindy, and it just feels like that. I think it's just, like I said, part of the script. But absolutely, Tim Walz is obviously a big part of the corruption.
And thank you so much, Miss Angela Bloom. I'm going to try to read this. It's a little small for my eyes. For nothing is a secret that will not be revealed, nor anything hidden that will not be known and come to the light. A lot of things are coming to light. Absolutely. And thanks for your help.
The amount of people that have passed on young is just staggering. Tatiana Schlossberg, JFK's granddaughter, dead at 35. Leukemia. Wow. There's just so many people that we've lost. And I'm sure we all have an idea as to some of the primary reasons. This is also why on evolutionary, we decided to kind of shift evolutionary. We kind of crunching everything in here on EEARTS. And on evolutionary, really focusing on taking care of your health, because, our health as a whole has been under attack for years. And that attack ramped up dramatically in the last, 5-6 years. But how do you take care of your health when the water's polluted, the air, the food, there's so much toxicity? It's a multi-pronged attack, and you really got to take it seriously, because if you don't, this could, be any of us, really, if we don't take care of ourselves or if we don't make the right decisions at the right time.
I know there's a lot we have to do, and I have to say a huge thank you to Miss Angel. She did send us some help over on Ko-Fi, and other people can do that too. We do have a Ko-Fi link underneath. Thank you so much, Angel.
Yeah, so, when you look at the bigger picture, right? Exile Knights of Malta now says, how would you like to be an innocent Somali, a refugee just trying to scrape by? This is the thing. So, here you're looking at the Somalis, and they're being used. They're being used, and, so's everybody else. This is the thing. As long as you take a side and ignore the people that are being used in other ways, then you're still serving the function of the system. It's when we recognize that those that are being forced to become migrants and refugees, they're being used by the system just like the ones are being abused by the system that have to take them in, especially when, they will get all the money and, all the support just to make people mad. If I'm explaining myself right, you get what I'm saying. It's just a round robin. And in fact, that was interesting because Cindy, when she was remote viewing, picked up the phrase round robin. That's one of their keywords. That's one of their code words. So when you look to what happened in Syria, let's just take Syria. The U.S. and others, create the conditions of conflict in Syria, ongoing civil war, ongoing attacks, Israel attacking, etc. That becomes a lot of Syrian refugees. It's, again, the conflicts that create the refugees, and then the refugees just look to go to wherever they could live and have a better life for them and their families. And this is known. They know what they're doing on both sides of it because they're just using everybody. The people that are already living in a country and the people that are, leaving a country because, if they don't leave, they might be wiped out.
In so many sad ways, they don't leave anybody out that way. I mean, if somebody's back can get walked on or stabbed or whatever, they'll take advantage of that. And I think, that's why we have to really be smart and take care of each other and do all the things. And honestly, you can only, you have to prepare. You really have to prepare, but you can only prepare for so many things at once. It's very overwhelming right now. And all we can do is our best, but we really need to really do it.
Okay, so Freemasons seeking an emergency injunction from the High Court to block a new Metropolitan Police policy that would require them to disclose their membership in the organization. They have filed legal papers in London arguing the policy amounts to religious discrimination against Freemasons. Police officials say anyone who is or has been part of a hierarchical organization that requires members to support and protect one another must declare it. So they don't like that. Well, again, I think most people join the Freemasons just looking for something to belong to and maybe to do some good deeds. Then all of a sudden, it's not until you get way higher up that you realize what's really going on. But think about it. If there's 3 candidates for a job and, one of them is a Mason, and you have to make the decision and you are a Mason, the Masons expect you to pick the Mason. Yeah, that's not right. That's just not right. But this is the system that's been in place. This is how they've taken power and control, because it's through the initiation into their inner rights and these clubs that people, basically buy into truly what is the satanic system. And this is, again, how people make a deal with Satan. Yeah, to have, go back to the Bible, Satan showing Jesus the whole world, all this could be yours, just bow the knee, right? And this is what they do with stars, people that hit it big time. All of them. I don't think there's anybody that hits it really big time that is not in some way, shape, or form initiated into one of the secret societies. And then they could call in at any time. And sometimes they do. And sometimes, it might be at 35 years old or even younger.
It could be. It could be, just watching this, at least it's being brought to light. I don't think I've ever seen a story like this actually come out, if anything like this has remotely happened. So this is good news. I mean, it's horrible, but it's great news. It's great news that the horrible is getting a flashlight shined on it.
Susan asked, do you think secret societies are infighting? What do you pick up?
I pick up, there's some pretty underhanded, kind of really nasty things going on. And the word that I keep hearing in my mind is ancient. There's some sort of ancient type of program that they are supposed to be operating under, and they haven't been doing that. So there's some things that are definitely going to come to the light, and it might not be what we expect at all. That's what I'm picking up.
There's no honor amongst thieves. They're all thieves. That's the bottom line. There's no honor amongst any of them. Some are worse than others. Yeah, absolutely. But still, they're all part of the bigger system. But do they infight? Absolutely. They're all just all about themselves. They're all about ego and all about greed. This one really hit me, this story. Trump administration rushes to demolish 13 more historic D.C. buildings as preservations fight back. Not long after demolition of the historic East Wing of the White House, the Trump administration is now looking to expedite the demolition of more than a dozen historic buildings in D.C. According to documents obtained by the Washington Post, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is seeking emergency approval to demolish 13 historic buildings at the historic federal campus, St. Elizabeth's, established by Congress in 1855, originally called the Government Hospital for the Insane. That's pretty wild. You know, there's a lot to that. The whole thing with the sanitariums and stuff, oh man, there's a lot to that. Welcome, Renee Bruner. Great to see you as an evolutionary manifester.
Hi, Renee. Big hugs. I hope you're doing well. Make sure you stick to the end because we're going to be talking prayers and energy.
Yes, and thanks for your support throughout the years, Renee. We've been together for 7 or 8 years. I mean, you've been since pretty much the beginning. So this one really hit me, and I'm showing it to you without realizing what it is that the guides want me to look into this about. I feel that there's a lot of things here. This feels so significant to me. You know, in some ways, this one hit me more than like any other of the other stories. For one, like we were talking about, government hospital for the insane. The insane asylums. There was insane asylums that were popping up everywhere. When we look back to the timing of what might have been the end of a lot of Tartaria, and also warfare against a lot of people that had operating third eyes. You know, that whole thing. Oh, wait a minute. You hear voices. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to do a full frontal lobotomy, because we have to make sure your pineal gland is not functioning at all, because, again, humans with functioning pineal glands are just too dangerous to keep under control. There's a lot here. You know, the removal of these buildings that might have hidden technologies, you know, certainly things that could give us more clues to what exactly is going on as far as what we would call Tartaria. You know, we all know about the giants. The giants were a worldwide phenomenon. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of newspaper articles talking about finding giant bodies here, giant bodies there. You know, here are a couple. There may be 100 or more. Where did they all go? Again, they're all gobbled up by the Smithsonian, and whatever they did with them, they got rid of the evidence. This feels like burning evidence. This feels like, again, trying to erase the past. And who's at the head of this? It's Kristi Noem. So, you know, again, if we think that there's, you know, salvation on the right, I think we're misguided too, because, you know, maybe there's a little less or a slower slope down, you know, the 1984 Orwellian slope. Maybe it's a little bit slower or gentler pace on one side than the other. But it's, again, we're looking at two wings of the same bird. And in my estimation, I haven't seen anything to tell me otherwise, or I haven't even sensed anything to tell me otherwise. In a memo obtained by the Post, Noem said the buildings constitute a present risk to life and property, given that they sit on DHS, Department of Homeland Security's West Campus complex, and their vacancy could be used by individuals seeking to cause harm to personnel, including carrying out active shooter scenarios. It just gets me thinking about the logic that they've used to destroy so much of our history. This is a threat to Homeland Security, so gotta tear them all down. Yeah, unilateral declaration can be problematic because it bypasses procedural safeguards designed to ensure stability, legitimacy, and fairness. When you look at all these different presidential decrees we've had over the year, they've done just so much harm to our rights and our freedoms. Doesn't matter if we're talking again about the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas. It's the same thing. We see our rights taken away time after time. We never get them back. We see our history whitewashed and erased in front of us.
We do, over and over again. It's a situation where we really do need to just continue to stick together, even if we have, little things that we don't always agree on. Be kind to each other, because it's a really tough world out there right now. I mean, a lot of things can go wrong with so many people's lives, and it's not easy. And then finances and bills and stress and all the things, it's really wonderful when I see that we can be kind to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the name of the game. Again, that's Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may my thoughts, words, actions, and deeds contribute to that, not take away from that. This is the goddess Vatica. That's another one to go down. We've talked about this in a few videos. And the origin of the word Vatican, perhaps, as the Vatican itself was built on a site that was dedicated to the goddess Vatica. Why does it have horns? It kind of reminds me of a feminine Baphomet, but Baphomet's kind of androgynous, so curious.
There is that, and what's going on with all of that. There's a lot of confusion out there, amongst beings, and it really looks, I don't know, it doesn't feel good out in the world right now.
No, the cover-ups are enormous, and there's so much that's fascinating that has been hidden from us, but too much has come out now. You can't put the cat back in the bag. This image displays an ancient Mayan sculpture, a replica of, let's see, how would you say that? Pua Tun Bakab relic modeled after stone carvings found in the ruins of Copan, Honduras. The sculpture represents one of the Pahutan sky gods, who are believed to be 4 brother gods who held up the sky. Ooh, this is from Billy Carson. Sky gods, but it seems to me that would also work in the water. Just saying.
Isn't it cool how they do the AI? Is pretty fun.
It could be fun. We could be having a blast right now if they gave up this whole idea of trying to control everybody. If they canned and scrapped the idea of financial collapse, let's have a easy, gentle transition into a system that has no central authority. Yeah. That would be the way to go. No central authority. Don't give away your rights to think for yourself and make your own decisions. So, yeah, is he wearing a suit basically to get about in the ocean or out in the air?
Very, very curious, why it would look like either or. It looks like kind of the same equipment for both places. Got to think about that.
So much hidden in plain sight. So much hidden in plain sight. They are always moving as fast as they can to remove everything that, might be a little bit of a faux pas. Like, oops, hey, we missed this one. Yeah. We missed this one. We got to go back and get it. Oh, create a war over in Iran because, there's too much over there that if people see, they'll figure it out. It'll help them move things faster along. It's a day of reckoning where we finally understand that, we had far more advanced technology when we look to the Sumerian kings lists, I really do think that we could be living at least 2 or 3 times the length of the average life right now, if we really actually weren't being so toxified, even right now. I think it's just amazing. How about the American Civil War? What was really going on there? It's not what we were told. It's not what we were told. In fact, I almost feel like if we go the exact opposite route, that's going to be closer to the truth. When you look to all the photographs, why does it always look like they're posing? They're posing like they're on a shooting for a movie, like it's just a big set. And why do we always see all these empty buildings? Now here, these things look demolished beyond recognition almost in some cases. But you see this all around the world, and it was nonstop fights. We were looking between 1700 and like 1900. Every single year had major wars going on. Truly, you could look at it. If we put all the wars together, it has been one nonstop world war.
And it goes on and on and on and on, and I've seen the second level of this too, and it's really disturbing. And I think that's why I push so hard to, I don't know, try not to feed the other side, because those beings feed on trauma. They really feed on trauma. So, we all need to try to do our best to help each other out, help each other have a little bit better day, just a little bit easier. Because if you're doing that, if you're busy, making sure these things don't have food, then, you're on the right path to me.
Yeah. So when you look at this photo, why are they making the hidden hand sign of Freemasonry? They are. Everybody looks weird, too. And Lincoln's pretty tall, just saying. How about the tall hat thing? How about the fish hat of the Pope? There's something that smells fishy here.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem quite right. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you guys, I know you feel it. You feel it. Why does it all feel so staged? Yeah, hidden hand. Was it really North against the South? Was it all about freeing the slaves, so to speak? I don't think so. How about technology? Where could we really be today? Do you know this was actually real? 1959, Volkswagen Beetle. They offered a coffee maker as an optional extra. It wasn't actually made by Volkswagen. Somebody had all the details farther down. It was a separate accessory made by H. Wittek with its own heating system, typically powered by a small fuel burner. So the coffee heated independently of the engine. Pretty wild to think. Again, we've had moving sidewalks. We've had electric vehicles over 120, 40 years ago. Yeah, it's all, it just doesn't fit. It's an ongoing revisionist history. And now that we figured that out, I wonder how quickly we could change the path and the course.
I think we already are, just by moving the energy, where energy flows, that's where we tend to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cindy does have her forks out. We're going to do some dings. Let's put out that intention that we are all contributing to awakening this world, and we're all contributing to the freedom of all beings, the liberty of all beings, the pursuit of happiness of all beings out there. I like that sounds of no central authority. No central authority. Again, how can the few control the many? Well, obviously through controlling the media, controlling the banking system, controlling the minds in more ways than one. But it's also that central authority, the whole power structure we have, from monarchy, which Susan taught me last live. It means one archon, mono, archon. One archon, yeah. one archon to rule them all. Isn't that really the case? Again, the Dark Lord Sauron, that history, we're heading back into a time like that of magic and just wild, amazing sights there will be seen by us in the coming years. What will 2030 bring? I think it's still going to be challenging, but I think also it's going to be mind-blowing. By the time we get to 2035, I don't know if we'll even recognize things that much.
I don't know, but we are going to do some dings. And first, I want to say our thank yous to everyone for your support. Please leave a thumbs up. I want to say thank you to Angel, Angela, Robbie, Susan D., and Renee. She's one of our newest supporters over there on YT. So thank you so much. And I want to say thanks for prayers on the last live for Bruce. Surgery went very, very well. Everything went super smooth, better than expected. So thank you for that. And anyone who needs prayers, or you want to send prayers or send energy, go ahead and lock into this and think a happy thought. Think really, really happy thoughts. That's very important. So here we go. And if you want to hang out just another few seconds, we're going to be doing some patterning. It is silent. You will not hear anything, but you might feel it. And here we go. And then we're going to do this for not very long. And then Mike is going to go ahead and log out. Oh, thank you, John and Jen. Just saw that. Thank you so much.
As always, guys, thank you so much for your support. We love you. Share that love. Share your light. We couldn't do it without you. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.